Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 10. So Module 10 is the module where you will turn in the final draft of your process essay. So process essay, this is the third major assignment that you've turned in. You've done 2 paragraphs. Now this is the first essay. You will do 1 more essay after this point before the final. So this module is the one where you turn in the final draft. In the previous module, you turned in the rough draft. So the first thing you want to do is see whether or not I've graded your rough draft. It does sometimes take me a little while to get through them during the week, so it may be later in the week when you get some feedback. But in the meantime, you can always look at your own essay. I encourage you to read through your own essay, do some self-editing, send it to the online writing lab is always a good option because you already have a rough draft done, so you might as well send it in. They usually take a few business days to respond, so the earlier you send it in, the more likely it is that you'll get some good feedback early on. And then obviously submit when you're finished. So just as a reminder to use the online writing lab, when you click on this link over here, the BrainFuse online tutoring, it takes you to the online tutoring page and you'll go to submit essay and then you'll tell them what kind of essay it is. And in this case, they do have process paper on here. And so that's helpful for them to know what kind of essay it is and then fill out, what your course is, an instructor. You can copy and paste the assignment and that kind of thing and tell them what you're having trouble with, and then at the bottom, upload your file. When you get a response back, it goes to your message center. So that's in BrainFuse. It'll be underneath your name, your My Message Center. And then also you'll see it like on the home page when you go into BrainFuse, you'll see that there's a little, icon that says you've gotten a response. I don't think it sends you an email, so you do have to go into BrainFuse to check for that response. That's the only issue that I've had some students have with that program is that they sometimes just, if they're not paying attention, they're not going to get that response. So this module is solely devoted to finishing that rough draft. I've got a page for you just as reminders for how to revise a rough draft, just some chapters to look at in the textbook on revising, and then making sure that you look through the instructor draft. Obviously, this is the process essay, so the only feedback you have is for the process rough draft. For the next essay, you'll actually have a lot more feedback that you need to look for, but so far this is what you're going to be looking at unless you use that online writing lab. So, spend the week, go through your own essay, read through it, read it out loud. One of the things that some students are able to do is use like a program that will read text out loud to you. And so that's really useful because then you can kind of hear what your essay sounds like and pick out some areas where you might be struggling or where it doesn't really make any sense. And then you can sit down and revise that. And then when you're done, when you're totally done and you have, you're ready to submit, make sure that you turn it in here. Now, important thing to remember is that if your rough draft from Module 9 and your final draft for Module 10 match, so that you didn't make any changes or like maybe changed a couple of words, I'm only giving you half credit for the assignment because the whole purpose of this class and of all of these assignments that we go in order with is to have you improve your writing from one step to the next to the next. So if you're not doing that, I'm not giving you credit for it. And so just kind of keep that in mind. I do go back and look at your final draft to make sure that your essay is actually being improved, or your rough draft to your final draft. So just keep that in mind. Process essay, probably the biggest mistakes that students make is excessive use of second person pronouns. So we already learned about second person. You did a whole quiz on second person here in Module 9 with a video. And so that is an issue because students are writing like a set of instructions as opposed to an actual process explanation. And then the other issue is that the lack of detail, or maybe a lack of like good transitions between steps, so that we really see, what does this process look like, and then why do we do the steps in this order. So, if you, for example, if you change the oil in your car and Like my dad always used to store, like he'd drain the oil, the old oil out, and then he would put it in like a milk jug. And I don't know, I have no idea why he would do that. But you know, if there's like a specific thing that you like, an old milk jug, like why do you do that? What is it that, you know, or do you put the old oil like in the new oil, you know, with the oil you just emptied into the car? Is that where you store the old oil? I don't know. So what tips do you have for us? Why do you do it that way? Why does it need to be done in this order? Those are the types of questions you need to be asking yourself as you're writing this essay. And then that in the second person, make sure you can use first person if you want to. So a lot of students will just use I throughout the essay because they're the ones who have performed this process and they've done it multiple times, so they're comfortable with that. Or if you've only maybe done it once and you just want to kind of use a third person, like people or they or something like that, then you can if you want to. That would be fine. The only thing I don't want you doing is using that you. So if you have questions, feel free to send me an email. Otherwise, have a great week. And if you watched all the way to the end of this video, I really appreciate you watching the videos. I know that it does take a little bit of time, but it also takes time for me to make them. So I always appreciate when students are doing something a little extra to be successful in this class. Send me an email and I will give you extra credit for watching these videos.